Hello, this is Gary Nelson, and I've been asked by Doug Beaumont from St. Joseph's to give you a little taste of what we have in store for you when we were able to resume our adult education program at St. Joseph's. Once again, after the COVID-19 thing clears up, which we all are praying is going to happen very soon. Prior to someone apparently getting sick from eating a bat in China, we were discussing a class for you on the book of Revelation with an emphasis on tying it into the Catholic liturgy of the Mass. As you may recall, not too long ago, Doug and I taught a class on the book of Revelation, which we were able to do without fighting with each other because we both hold similar views on what the book intended to tell us. And what do I mean by that? Well, I'm sure you know that each of the authors of the Gospels, for instance, had a plan when they were writing the book, and that was to be eyewitnesses of the life and times of Jesus Christ and what he did. So that was the purpose of the Gospels. And then there's Paul's letters, which were to 7 different churches and to Timothy and Titus. And those letters, for the most part, are letters. He wrote letters. So the purpose of the letter was to talk to the churches. We call them epistles because that comes from the Greek term for sending news. Many people over the centuries have weighed in on what the book of Revelation is all about. As I said a minute ago, Doug and I agreed. We mostly think that it was about the destruction of the temple in 70 AD. Why? Well, in Matthew 24, we see that Jesus predicts the destruction of the temple within a genea, which is maybe generation, approximately 40 years. John was there, he heard that, and lo and behold, he got it right. So this is the perspective that we taught it from without denying that there are other important and accurate perspectives that you can take. We called what we do the Preterist View. And in a sense, it's an interesting period of time during that 40 years because both the Old and the New Covenants are existing side by side. The Mosaic Law, the cultic sacrifices in the Jerusalem temple, the liturgical calendar of the Jews is ongoing. At the same time, Jesus brought the New Covenant. We see that in the Last Supper. We see that in his church, and they're celebrating the Eucharist simultaneously. Period. This all came to an end, this dual covenant situation, when the temple was destroyed in 70 AD. That was a cataclysmic event, a very big deal if you're Jewish. Many people have tried to use the book of Revelation to predict the future. It's a prophetic book, they would say, and certainly that's a valid perspective. I would agree. The futuristic viewpoint has been used to argue maybe that it's all about the life of the church up till Constantine made the church legal in 325 AD. Or maybe it goes up till the fall of Rome in 476 AD. And that's what the book's about, some people say. Oh, there's people that would say they're going to look in the headlines of the newspaper today and see how the book of Revelation matches up with current events because they believe that it's predicting the end of the world. So the famines, the earthquakes, the tsunamis, or maybe even a pandemic like COVID-19 are there in that book of Revelation, and it's predicting God's judgment on sinful humanity or the end of the world. So they're looking at it like that. The 666, the mark of the beast. Of course, many people in the 80s thought that was Ronald Wilson Reagan because he has 3 names and they each have 6 letters. So, it gets weird sometimes when we start doing that. So the idea here is not to go in a futuristic direction in this class this time. We've done the preterist. We want to now look at the correspondence between the imagery and events that John sees when he is, quote, in the Spirit, end quote, on the, quote, Lord's Day, end quote, in Revelation, and take a look at the correspondence with the Catholic liturgy of the Mass. Certainly the Mass was being celebrated at the time John wrote the book of Revelation. If you've read the book of Acts, you can see that the apostles and the disciples and the church were breaking the bread every day. The Eucharist was being celebrated by the Christians. So the question is there a correspondence between the heavenly liturgy that John sees in the visions that he has and the earthly liturgy that we celebrate every day in our church, at least God willing, soon, we hope? That's the question for this class. Can we see the Mass in the book of Revelation?